stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One train over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life, there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home. Cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I love today.
Hello, Danny and I sitting here talking. Everybody's like,
You're
"Turn
listening
on
to the world's
microphone,
best music,
Laverne.
good
Come on."
news
This is
music,
1100
gospel music.
WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne. Danny Atchley is in the house with me. Good morning, sir. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, LaVern. How are
I'm
you?
doing excellent. We had some business we needed to take care of before we turn the microphones on. We've got this weekend an evening at Elmwood.
Yes.
And I dug out my T-shirt. I was so proud of myself that I actually could lay hands on it this morning because we just talked yesterday. This kind of snuck up on me that you had this coming up. You know, it's
We've
so
been
hot.
doing it for 26
I know.
years.
Do you do it always on this weekend?
We always do it the
Okay.
first weekend, first Saturday in June.
Okay, well, see, I need to
26
make a mental note of that right after we get out of school, we've got an evening at Elmwood.
That's it.
Okay, and
is
it's
it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It is just a wonderful thing.
It's a
So,
signature event for
Yeah,
us.
it really is.
We have another one, which is a Christmas
that
tour of
microphone
homes,
closer, yeah.
but this one is, to me, my favorite because we get to marry not only history, but also a little bit of theater because
Yeah.
we have actors who portray the characters that we are celebrating from Robertson County's past, and that goes all the way back. Well, in this particular instance, for this year, we're celebrating Betsy Locust, who is an African-American woman who was granted her freedom in North Carolina. And in those days, if a slaveholding state granted someone freedom, which was not very often, especially a slaveholding state, they would have to more or less leave the state and go somewhere else.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
so she did. So she immigrated to Tennessee before it was a state.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got here, she and her family, and she traveled here on foot with some other white families from North Carolina. And anyway, came settled here in Springfield, or right outside Springfield. And then was planning on living out her days here, hopefully in freedom. But then one night, some slaveholders came along, and her daughter was outside, and they grabbed her daughter and took her away down south, never to be seen by her mother again.
That is horrifying.
But now the cool thing about, well, it's not anything cool about it,
but yeah.
But it's history. It's part of our Robertson County history. And this information came to me from John Baker, who is our premier African-American historian for Robertson County.
Yes.
He's the gentleman that wrote The Washingtons of Wessington, which tells everything you want to know and need to know about the Wessington plantation and everything that went on there during its existence. I say that to say this. John is an expert when it comes to coming up with facts and things about African Americans in our past.
We've had a great, we had an opportunity to have him on once. His work schedule just won't allow him to come in here in the mornings, and we have talked a few times. But I would love to have him in. I wish the Washington plantation was open to the public so much.
Well,
it's privately held.
It's privately held.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of things over the years, but we haven't done anything recently.
Well, and I respect, that's a private home.
It is, but the gentleman that owns it now, I think, is receptive for us maybe to do something every once in a while, and so we're talking about it a little bit, mostly through John. Right. John has a great relationship with them there, and so anyway, we'll see what happens.
It's fascinating when you look at the history of our county. I had some students that I have at Greenbrier were at my house. They like to come out there and fish. And so they were out there and we were in the front yard and we were talking and they were asking me, they're like, what's that stone thing over there? And it's the fireplace from the old cabin.
Oh, yeah. They didn't know what it was.
Yeah. And I told them about the original cabin that was there and how we've, tried to save it. And then I have in my patio, I have a bunch of bricks that I salvaged that are handmade bricks that were probably created by slave, at the time, because that's who made the bricks. And I told him, I said, that's my way of just remembering, because I don't know for sure that they were made by slaves, but I said, more than likely.
There's a good chance there was. Yeah. And anyway, I can't.
But nonetheless, there's so much. But what a fascinating woman to hear. Now, who else are we going to hear about?
Okay. Well, we've got, it crosses the ages. Since we mentioned one woman, we'll mention a man. How about Robert Lee King? Now, Robert Lee King was born in 1920, and anyway, grew up as a farm in Cedar Hill, just north of Springfield. And anyway, went to school here, went to Main Street School, which was down on North Main Street, went on to Springfield High School. In the old school, the old People's Tucker building, that Springfield moved the high school into that back in the early part of the 20th century. I say all that to say this. Anyway, he attended Springfield High School. He was on one of Coach Smith's, actually he's on about 3 of Coach Smith's great football teams, Coach Boy Smith, that went undefeated in 1936 and 37. His senior year. Robert Lee was a great athlete. He was one of the star athletes on that team, which consisted of a lot of star athletes. A lot of historical people from our past played on that team. Anyway, Robert Lee went on to Tennessee Tech, got a engineering degree, and of course you can tell if he was born in 1920, World War II broke out in December 1941, so he was away at Tech at the time. He managed to go on and get his degree, and then he joined the Army Air Corps and was sent to Greenville, Mississippi, where he took training to learn how to fly. He excelled at it. Not only did he excel at it, they decided that he was so good at learning how to fly that they thought he should teach other young cadets how to fly, so that's what he did. Of course, he was disappointed that he didn't get to go overseas, either to Asia or Europe, to fight, but he stayed there. And then one August day in 1943, he took up one of his cadets, went up on a training mission. The cadet, from what we understand, was needing some help on instrument landing or something like that. Anyway, they went up and the plane that they flew was a U.S. Army Air Corps trainer, and they had some problems with it, but anyway, they still kept it. It was still able to fly, etc. But occasionally they would have an issue with this particular plane, and they also called it it would shake quite a bit. So at least what I've read about it. Anyway, they went up, had problems. The cadet was flying at the time, and then Robert Lee said, "Here, let me take over," and he did. And sure enough, they started losing altitude. He looked immediately to see where he could put the plane down. He knew he wasn't going to be able to make it back to the base, back to Greenville Army base. And so he did. He put it down in a cotton field in Mississippi,
Wow.
and hit a stump. And anyway, Robert Lee was killed, but the cadet only got bruises and stuff like
Wow.
that because of his incredible,
Heroics,
his heroics
Yeah.
and incredible flying skill.
Wow.
So there you go. There's another great story.
That's amazing.
Want to ask me some more?
Yeah, I love all this. And what we're talking about, guys, this is an evening in Elmwood, and I've had the pleasure of going a couple of times. And, I think that until I started teaching, the structure of my world is just get up and work and do, because I've never had summer block of time off. And so I'm kind of getting used to summer.
Yeah.
It's different for me now because I have, I've spent my career doing other things, and so you don't think of in terms of okay, it's summertime. It's just another work day,
Yeah.
For me. And so as I'm getting this in my head, I'm saying all this to say from now on, I'm going to remember Elmwood comes up as soon as school's out.
Yeah.
I love having that mindset.
Well, it's a fundraiser for
Yeah.
us. We also call it Supper in the Cemetery. We still have tickets for sale, by the way.
That's why he's here.
You can go to our Facebook page, the Roberts County Historical Society Facebook page. Also, you can go to our website. And anyway, you can still purchase tickets, although we're about sold out. And we always sell out every year, LaVern. And because it's such a fun event, like I said, we call it Supper in the Cemetery. You get a box supper. We also have live music. We got Amelia and Reagan Brown,
I love it.
of She's My Sister, who are going to be providing music during the dinner hour. And then we also have special guest Sarah Sisk, who actually is my niece, by the way, on my wife's side. And Sarah plays the harp.
That's what I've heard.
So anyway, the three of those young ladies are going to get together and be providing music for our people eat. And then right after that, then we will launch into the program.
I love it.
We're also going to have a live auction with some items that Ed Cope, who is our presenting sponsor for the event, will be auctioning off live at the event.
And he's fun.
Yeah.
Anywhere he goes to do an auction, it's an auction and it's entertainment
And
as
it's
well.
entertainment
It's
as
just
well.
fun.
Yeah.
So that's
I
wonderful.
agree with
And I have, like I said, I've been a couple of times, and it has been just a wonderful event. Love to see the ladies out in their sundresses.
Yeah.
Already, it's a summer event.
It's a summer
and,
event.
It's just so cute.
And
But yes, not everybody comes super dressed up, but a lot of the ladies really do it up, and they've got their sundress finery on, and it's just fun. It's just fun. But it's always a good time. I love that the Brown girls are going to be out there, Amelia and Reagan.
And we've got some really good actors that are going to be portraying the characters.
Some that we know. Who are some of our features?
Well, you remember Tamisha Martin.
Yes.
Tamisha, of course, played Lena Bransford for
Wonderful.
our production of An Evening with Miss Lena and Mr. Patterson. Great actress, and she'll be playing Betsy Locust. And she's excited about doing that, and will bring a lot to that particular character. Chris Hamsley will be portraying, and everybody remembers Chris. He was a longtime postman. He's retired now, but he'll be playing Fike Farmer Sr. Now, Fike Farmer was born in Cedar Hill from a farming family. And anyway, evidently was a bright young man. He was born in 1901. Went on to graduate, and then went on to Vanderbilt, graduated from there, and then entered Yale Law School, became a pretty high-priced and well-known attorney, nationally known. And toward the middle and end of his career, he got so successful he decided he would just take on cases that nobody else would take on. And the cool thing about Fike Farmer was he never forgot his roots. He never forgot he was from Tennessee. Never forgot he was from Cedar Hill. Never forgot he's from Robertson County. And I say all that to say this. He would take on the underdog, the underserved, he would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
When I found that out, I thought, well, okay,
We're going to talk about him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And anyway, that's pretty much what he did. And then the case that he's most noted for, and in fact, he actually pleaded cases before the United States Supreme Court on several occasions, but on this one that we're going to touch on at Evening in Elmwood is the case of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Now, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were New Yorkers and worked for the War Department, or he did, during World War II. And anyway, during that time, he worked closely with the Russians. Of course, the Russians were our allies during World War II. And anyway, so as things turned out, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were ensnared in a FBI sting, I guess you'd say, and were accused of selling or giving secrets of the atomic bomb to the Russians. Now, this all happened the spy ring was discovered in 1950 by the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and the FBI. Wow. And anyway, they had a big trial. And of course, this was during the Big Red Scare.
Oh, yeah.
The beginning of the Cold War, which lasted.
Ball got accused of being a Russian.
Oh, it was.
She did. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of entertainers that were.
A lot of entertainers, and some of them did join the Communist Party, but that was, this is back during the Depression. I'm not going to get in on all the politics of that. And Fike didn't either. But Fike, anyway, the Rosenbergs were put on a big trial. It was in all the papers. And anyway, they were convicted and they were sentenced to death, to die in the electric chair in New York. And they were sentenced under the Espionage Act of 1916, of all things. And Fike Farmer, who had not been on the case during the trial, but he had been following it, and he decided he would step in and see if he could maybe do something for the Rosenbergs. Now, Julius, as it turns out years later, they found out under the Freedom of Information Act that Julius was in fact working for the Russians.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now for whatever
reason,
it's
a rather famous case. It's very historical.
But at the time they really didn't know all that. But Ethel, the wife, who was also a young mother, had very, very little knowledge of what was going on.
Right.
She knew that something was afoot with her husband, but anyway, so they were both tried, they were both convicted, and they were both sentenced for execution. Well, Fike realized that maybe that shouldn't happen because they were sentenced under the Espionage Act of 1916, but there had been an Atomic Energy Act passed, and for that kind of crime, they wouldn't sentence them to death.
Okay.
So he sent a message, whatever, to a legal brief to the Supreme Court and got William O. Douglas, who was a big Supreme Court justice back during that time, to grant a stay.
Wow.
It only lasted a day, unfortunately, but they did grant a stay until the Supreme Court could meet all of them together like they do. And then they heard the case. Fike presented what he could before them. And anyway, the court decided 6-3 for the execution to go forth, and they were executed.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's
So,
Pike
and
Farmer.
this gentleman is in our sim. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That fascinating stories of people. You're like, wow,
Well,
I had no idea.
It's
that's
it's
fascinating.
funny when we get these people.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
I'm fortunate enough that we've got some really good historians that help me with this, like
Yeah.
Bill Jones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bill Jones. I mentioned John
Didn't
Baker.
he just have a birthday?
Yes, he did.
Happy birthday, Bill. That
yeah.
snuck up on me, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, because he had mentioned it, last month. Happy birthday, Bill. I missed your birthday, brother. But anyway.
But anyway, we they help us, and but on this particular instance with Pike Farmer is once you start finding out all this information, you go, golly, how cool is this? This guy did something.
Yeah.
All these people do something.
Yeah.
And we've still got some other people that I hadn't even touched on yet, but that's three right
We've
there.
got time. You've got another 10 minutes to sell
Okay.
this.
Well,
I'll just a little programming note. I got Matt Driscoll coming in here at 7:30 to talk to us. This is my last broadcast day this week because I have classes in Murfreesboro for the next 3 days for my teaching certification. And so I will be in Murfreesboro. Lee Marie or somebody will be sitting here. I think Lee Marie is in. I think Deborah's going to do some of the shows while I'm out because then I'm having knee replacement in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna be out a lot this summer.
That, but I didn't know that was going.
Yeah,
okay,
it's on the
bless your
10th.
heart.
I'll be here next week, but I will be out the following week, and then I'll be here for several weeks, and then I'm getting the other one done.
Oh wow!
So yeah, but I'll be out some. I
Bless
got to get
your
it
heart.
done while we're out of school.
Well,
You know, I got to take care of this
I'll
stuff
tell you
while we're out of
what,
school.
I know
so.
quite a bit about it because I have a lot of friends that
Mm-hmm.
have knee replacement surgery, and they've done well.
Yes, I know I will as well. But that's just to let you know what's going on. So let's continue on. Who else are we going to hear?
All right, next up is Frank Murphy. Now, Frank Murphy was born in 1891, died in 1952. Frank was he was in World War One. He was born here in Springfield. He went to work for the Springfield Police Department and as a policeman, and ended up making him police chief. And then during 1933, a new mayor came to office and decided that he was going to fire all of the city employees. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah, he did, because he thought there was too much bad things going on. Well, anyway, he ended up rehiring Frank and put him in the fire department. And anyway, he went on to work at the fire department and eventually in a short time, he was ended up as the fire chief. And then he decided that he was going to start doing things to upgrade the fire department for Springfield, because back in those days, a fire pretty much would mean you're going to lose whatever it is that's on fire. They just didn't have the equipment or the training or the experience to put these fires out. Downtown Springfield has burned down many times in our 200-year history. And so I say all that to say this. In 1940, there was a big fire that broke out on the south side of the square, on the same side as the post office, as the now museum. And anyway, it was a cold, cold, cold night, and the fire started in one of the buildings closest to Main Street, and then it kind of leaped over into some of the other buildings. And anyway, the fire department got there, and they worked and worked and worked, and they were able to basically save that part of the square.
Wow!
With the equipment that they had and the limited men they had in those days, so he was credited for being a big factor in that saving that part of the square.
That is cool.
Frank Murphy.
And if this is kind of intriguing, if this is starting to, you're like, oh, this is so cool finding this stuff out. Can you imagine having the people stand out in front of you and assume this character and share this story with you, and it is wonderful.
And they tell it in
is
the
just-
first person.
oh my
They'll
gosh.
be dressed like they
Yes.
were.
It is so cool.
And Dan Pratt will be playing that character.
Okay.
Dan Pratt's a local historian.
Yeah.
He did the research on Frank for us, and he's a great storyteller too. We've used him at the museum several times, and he's also an author, and he's just a super nice guy. And I went to school with him. So there.
That's so cool. And see
right.
these stories, my parents are in their final resting place is a historical cemetery in Mayfield. And I walk around there and I look at some of the stones and I just think about what kind of lives and that were lived. And my dad was fixated. He loved just kind of going and researching this kind of stuff and learning more about people's stories.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the coolest thing. So how many are going to be featured?
We have five historical characters. Traditionally, we have five.
Okay.
And our fifth one, if you want me to, I'll go ahead and
absolutely.
talk
Go
you
on.
about it.
Matt's
She's got a great story, too. And her name...
Matt Driscoll's supposed to be coming in here at the bottom of the hour, and if he doesn't show up, then Danny and I'll just talk about whatever. But I think he'll be on in here. So
Cornelia Caroline Sawnson, Sawinson Benton, is the next character that I haven't touched on. She was born 1839 and lived in 1914. She came from a nice family in Nashville. Her father was an attorney and was a friend and confidant of two presidents, Polk as well as Andrew Jackson.
wow.
And so she probably grew up in privilege. Well, she met a young attorney from Springfield, and his name was Sylvanus Benton. And anyway, he went on to fight in the Civil War, fought for the Confederacy, and then came back. I think he suffered a wound there during the Civil War, and came back. And anyway, resumed his life back in Springfield after the war was over with. He was an attorney, but he'd gotten into some kind of dispute with a former captain, Confederate captain, and anyway, the dispute got so bad that the Confederate captain, Captain Simpson, shot him, killed him, and this was Cornelia Benton's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, they had a big trial. It did it in broad daylight. In fact, the murder took place right about where Springfield Baptist Church is located now. And they had a big trial. Well, his attorneys got him to change the venue, moved it to Gallatin, and Captain Simpson he was acquitted. They didn't convict him. And even though it's obvious he did it, he and his son did it, shot Sylvanus Benton dead. Well, Cornelia, bless her heart, she was also a highly educated woman, and she was a pioneer in education for women. You have to remember, in the 19th century, women did not have the privileges that you have today. That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, she decided that they needed an academy for women in Springfield, and so she started the Springfield Institute for Women, and got a school going, and it was located next to the Methodist Church, United Methodist Church, down on Oak Street. And now here's another wrinkle in history. Dr. John Knuckles, who was a practicing doctor here in Springfield, he got into a dispute with his in-laws. And anyway, Bunch Hopkins was his brother-in-law, and Dr. Knuckles got in a dispute with his father-in-law, and Bunch Hopkins declared that he would seek revenge on Dr. Knuckles and shot him dead
It's the Wild
on
West.
South Main Street.
What?
Yes.
That's
But
crazy.
here's this. I'm not making any of this up.
Oh, that's what's so fascinating. This is all.
Bunch Hopkins comes from Nashville on a train, gets off the train here in Springfield, and plots to shoot and kill Dr. Knuckles, his brother-in-law. Well, he brings along two associates. The two associates go over to the Methodist Church and set fire to it to cause a diversion, and then Bunch Hopkins shoots Dr. Knuckles dead. But they also set fire to the institute, the school that Cornelia Benton built or had built or was in charge of, and to cover up their crime.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, well, they had another big trial. And anyway, Bunch Hopkins got the venue moved to Nashville, and doggone it, if he didn't beat that, he was acquitted as well.
That's incredible.
Now, Cornelia Benton had to put school someplace, so she put it in her home, and her home was the Cheatham House, the most historic
You're kidding.
home. No,
oh my God.
This is all true.
This is so fascinating.
This is all true.
This is so good. This is stuff. Okay. An evening at Elmwood.
Yeah.
Supper in the cemetery is this Saturday.
Yep.
How can they get tickets? How can
They
get tickets?
They can go to the museum. We're open Wednesday through Friday, 10 till 4 p.m. You can get tickets in the gift shop, or you can go online and go to our Facebook page, and you can order them online there. But I'm warning you, they're going fast. We always sell out, and I'm convinced we'll be selling out this time. So
yeah, probably could be today.
Could be today.
As people kind of go, oh, that's this weekend. Yeah, it's this weekend. What time does it start?
It starts at 5:30.
Okay.
And it'll be over with probably around 8 o'clock.
Okay, well, let me know if you sell out, and I'll keep talking. Well, I'm not going to be here, though.
You're not going to be.
I'll remind Lee Marie, though, and I've got a challenge for you. Okay, I'm always people just don't realize the way women were treated, I don't think, in the early part of our history. Find somebody in that cemetery that had something to do with women's suffrage, that had something to do with the passing of the 19th Amendment.
Well, I tell you what, we did that. We did that one year.
Do we have one? Do we have one?
We
in there?
did. We did.
Okay.
We did.
I would
But she
love.
was on the wrong side of it. She was an anti-suffragette. Yeah.
Oh, the War of the Roses.
Yeah.
The
She
War of the
was.
Roses.
She certainly
We need to
was.
find one that was on the right side.
Well,
But is there one? But, so
that
many.
I haven't found anybody yet. Interesting
Oh.
thing about it, the representative from Robertson County voted against passing the 19th Amendment in the legislature. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and this that's a fascinating story,
Oh.
and the part that Tennessee played in that, I just
It's a great
fascinating.
story.
And it's so powerful. I mean, it's only been 100 years, y'all.
Yeah.
Since we got the right to vote. It's fascinating
Now,
when you really look at it.
We talked about the Washington plantation.
Yeah.
Well, the Washingtons were prominent family that did Washington. Well, they also had Washington Hall, or at least one of the sons started Washington Hall. Well, his wife threw a great big tea for all the anti-suffragettes, and they came up from Nashville during all this while it was going on in downtown at the Hermitage and hosted a big tea. And all these antis were at the tea in Robertson County. They drove up here in their Model T cars, etc. It's all true. I'm not making it up.
Fascinating. I love you, Danny. I love talking
you
to you.
too.
It's so much fun. Evening in Elmwood. If you want tickets, you better get them today.
Yep.
Get them today and
today.
be a part of it on Saturday. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you. Y'all have
bless
a
you.
great weekend. And we're going to make the switch. Matt Driscoll, my friends coming on in here, my brother, just coming in. We don't get to talk because we're both teaching. So Danny, anyway, God bless you, Danny. Thank you so much. And Matt's going to come on in here, but we're going to pause and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards while they're making the switch and all that's happening at Exit Prime Realty. Exit Prime Realty, the place, if you're looking for help in the real estate community, people have a lot of questions right now because with the changes in the interest rates over the last year, it changes the way, how much house can you buy? Well, should I wait? Should I do this? And the one thing that Barry and Rebecca always, the best time to buy is today. It's always. I mean, they're not making any more real estate guys, and you can always refinance it when the rates drop because they will. They fluctuate. But if you've got a piece of property, you're really looking at it and you're really wanting to get it, you better grab it because sometimes it may never come for sale again in your lifetime. It's kind of like the property I live on. It is not going to be sold. My kids may sell it one day, but I'm not planning on it. And, if you have a piece of property like that you're really wanting to look into, you need to get on it, guys. And I've got, Barry and Rebecca kind of looking around the perimeters of our property maybe to see if something, because one of my kids might want to build up on the hill. And so, just those kinds of things you can call and talk to a realtor about it. Barry and Rebecca, they're Exit Prime Realty. They have been part of the Garden Gate team forever, and they switched the name over to the Exit Prime Realty. They're just a new branch in the Exit Tree. Same great team, but they took the brokerage office that Barry's in charge of here on the downtown square in Springfield, and then took that the agency office that Rebecca runs in White House, or she's a part of, and they combined them for Exit Prime Realty. It's that simple. If you want to reach out to them, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 is the number to call to get information, or you can look them up. Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty, Barry Richards, Exit Prime Realty. They specialize in Robertson County properties because they are cross-Planians. Been here for like 30 years and almost 30 years. But they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky because they're originally from Kentucky. So they know a lot about the state, kind of like I do. Get in touch with them today if you need help in real estate, buying or selling, or maybe you want to be a realtor. They can mentor you for that. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. Oh my goodness, Driscoll's in the house. What's up?
Good morning, Robertson County.
I'm glad to see you smile. You just look so tired. Stern when you walk in. I was like, man, that man's got a smile. Yeah, you are. Very good.
My students always tell me the same thing. I have the same look on my face.
Yeah, it's like,
I have students tell me like I look intimidating. I'm like, I'm not. I'm a big softie. I just have
spent a lot of time in the military, and I think sometimes you kind of. How many years were you?
You got to keep the poker face. Close, pushing 20.
Yeah, pushing 20. I mean, thank you for your service, by the way, young man.
Got to keep the poker face.
I can say young man because he's younger than me, but by quite a bit. But anyway, so how was school? That we never get to see each other. Well, we do because we do Celebrate Recovery together.
But usually pretty quick. Yeah, it's usually pretty quick. Pretty quick. We don't get to spend the time.
Yeah, we're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, we don't spend the time like we used to.
Yeah, because he was in the building with me at Greenbrier, and I want him back in there
talk daily.
So bad. But anyway, it's fun. Do you love teaching? I love teaching.
No, I love it.
I love it. I just love it so much.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else now.
Me either. And it's so fun because I started out as a teaching major in college. Now, my career took the path it was supposed to take. I don't have any doubt. I love broadcasting. I'm so glad I still get to do this. Thank you, Ebenezer Broadcasting, for making a way for me to stay on radio. But I love working with these kids. It's just the best.
It's a calling.
Yeah.
It's not so much a topic. It's a matter of having the relationship with these kids.
Yeah.
I know for myself, and I've told you personally, part of the reason why I got into teaching was, I barely graduated, the average, and I honestly say there were certain teachers that connected with me as a kid. They always, enough to keep me on point,
Yeah.
Growing up coming from a broken home, not a lot of great role models to look at. So there's always that one teacher, regardless of what school I was going to at the time, that just kind of connected and, made me feel like I wasn't a complete knucklehead.
Yeah, and I think this is something. I forget Michelle. What is her last name? She works in HR, I think, in the school at the central office. She was in here. We were talking. We were talking about Teacher Appreciation Week, I guess. It's been about a month ago. And she mentioned something that one school had done, and I love this idea. And I talked to our counselors about it. Said you had the kids' names on a wall somewhere, and like in the teacher's lounge, somewhere where only the teachers can see it. And if you have dots, like little sticker dots. And if you feel like you have a relationship with that kid, you put a dot by it. And so you let all the teachers do that, so that way we can see which kid's not connecting. I thought that was brilliant because they're still kids that I see in the hall, and maybe I don't have them in my space, but I'm thinking, man, you look like you're just kind of hanging back and not really engaging. And so, man, because it does make such a difference. What you're talking about, your story. If you don't know this man's story, it's powerful. I've heard and you're very public about your testimony. I've shared with people. Sometimes I'm like, you need to get to know Matt Driscoll. Here's his background. This is why it's important to have him in our space, because he can identify with certain circumstances that others can't. I can't connect in the way you can because I don't have your background. I grew up, on a farm up in Kentucky, parents together. I grew up. There's, people know about the interracial stuff that we had in my family, but beyond that, I grew up in an idyllic,
I get
family, beautiful. I mean, and so you
I get it
from the
I'm able to at least empathize and put myself in their shoes.
Yeah.
I understand what it was like to come from a broken home, not a lot of,
So
poverty and living on welfare, stuff like that. And I get that. So I think it does help. And I think that's where I was talking about this last night, and my testimony last night when I shared it was that, yes, as in teaching, we're not supposed to talk a lot about our faith and stuff like that, but I found ways of doing it. I found ways of just being transparent, and I let the students approach me.
Yeah, me too.
I let them start the conversation, but I let them know, I try to be as transparent as possible with them. Look, I was where you were.
Yeah.
Especially the school I'm in right now in Ashland City, a lot of broken homes. Ashland City is not, and
it's unreal.
I just look at the kids. Hey, I know where you're at. I barely graduated high school. I get it. Your circumstances, what they are now, does not have to define who you're going to be down the line.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your master's, and when are you going to start your doctorate?
Probably this summer.
Yeah, and
early spring.
yeah. So I mean, I just that alone. The example that you have for the kiddos alone, just, here's where I was when I barely got out of school. Now I have 2 masters, right? Did you say 2 masters, and he's going to get his doctorate. And what are you going to get your doctorate in?
Education.
All right, come on. I love it. I'm so proud of you.
It's
so proud to have you as a friend.
Well, part of that is I see the problem.
You're an overcomer, buddy.
I see the problem. You can be part of the problem, part of the solution.
Yeah.
That's what really got me to want to be in a teaching is that I can sit back and complain about the status of our education system, or I can get off the couch and do something.
I love it.
And that's really one of the main drivers that made me decide to get off the couch and get into teaching. I was complaining about the status of it. So I decided to get in the fight.
Well, I'm proud of you, and you're doing a great job.
Glory goes to God, not me. I'm just being, I guess, faithful.
Yeah. Well, and it's like my husband and I, we talk about retiring into teaching because we're both retirement age. You're not quite there yet. You got about 10 years before you'd even think about being, and I have no intention. I retired into teaching, and as long as the good Lord will let me get in that classroom and I can be effective, I'll do it till the day I die.
Same here.
I'm not one that just wants nothing.
I could easily see 70s doing
too.
this as long as I have the energy. My thing is as long as I have the energy.
As we're effective.
All right, and I'm a pretty energetic person to begin with. I know you've heard me speak, and I'm very spazzy. We'll call it animated. That's a good word for it. But if it gets to the point where I can't be animated anymore, then it'll be time to pack it up and look for a second, different line. But I know I've talked to you about it. Part maybe another chapter is I would like to eventually run for state level politician. Affect change, be able to get in there and affect change across the board for education right now, because our education system is a mess. There's a lot that we're doing that just doesn't make sense to me. And you talk with a lot of teachers, and a lot of the teachers feel the same exact way. So
have a deeper understanding than I do because they've been at it so long, and I'm like, oh, okay.
You get teachers that used to teach the way we were taught.
And
they've seen all these changes, and the changes have not been for the good. Where we're seeing scores consistently drop.
It's not helping.
No,
it doesn't seem to be. I mean, they keep trying to fix it, and they're just messing it up more.
Now, this may not be a popular thing to say on the air. I'm sure, hopefully, doesn't get me in trouble, but. If we continue to lower the standards to meet the students instead of raising the students to meet the standards, we're going to continue to have this problem.
Good job.
And,
very well said.
And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but the reality is. Let's go back, take a look. Where was our peak? How where was a time where students were meeting standards? And let's look at how are we teaching there. Here's a radical thought. Let's go back to that style. That's not, to me, this is not rocket science. And I think that's what my doctorate's going to be on.
I love that.
Is going to be on, let's go back to what used to work.
Is that,
we're starting to,
that's your dissertation topic right there?
It's because it drives me nuts. Like I sit down and have students read. It's kind of funny how we always just kind of go whatever direction, right?
I know.
But I'll sit down and I'll have students read in my class. And like last year teaching government, we're reading the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which to me is like one of the greatest documents ever written.
Right.
I love our Constitution. I love our Declaration of Independence. And as we're reading the words and having the students read it, they can phonetically sound it out perfectly. But the moment you say, okay, what does this word mean?
Yeah.
You get the blank stare across their face, and they go, I don't know.
How to express? Yeah.
They don't know what the words are. So to me, it's just insane. Right now, third grade, we're sitting child down, having them read a book, and we're counting their words. Well, great. I don't care if a kid can read 100 words a minute.
Do they know what they mean?
Do they know what they're reading? I'd rather have a kid read really slow, retain it, and then be able to take that knowledge and use it.
Yeah. Yeah, the reading comprehension is really a big issue.
There's one of the very first things I would push to go back to. Let's focus more on, are they retaining what they're reading? So when they sit down, do read the Constitution, they know what their rights are.
It's amazing.
You can read it all day long, but if you don't understand what your rights as a citizen are, because, well, I read the Constitution before, but you don't understand the Constitution
Right.
or the Bible, you may be able to read every word in the Bible, but if you don't understand every word in the Bible, then what's the use?
Yeah, getting biblical here. It's like, Philip and the eunuch. Do you understand what you're reading? Well, no, I don't. So,
So
yeah. Anyway, talking with Matt Driscoll, and we're talking, he's my friend, he's my brother in Jesus, and I remember still the first time you came in, you reached out to me, and I don't really know how you found out. I mean, it was just a random
just on
thing.
on Facebook.
Yeah, and just a random message I got from him. He says, "Hey, we're starting to celebrate recovery. Can we come in?" And we were still in the DBL on the other side of the radio station, and we've been friends ever since. And then COVID happened, and we were trying to find things for the church to be involved in remotely, and so I started coming, and I was like, oh, I was just wanting to come and see about this to bring it into my congregation, and realized how much I needed it, because we all have hurts, habits, and hangups, and he's got his CR shirt on, got a Celebrate Recovery shirt on. We're both teaching now. It's just bizarre how our paths have gone, and it's just continued to bring us into each other's path and let our friendship grow. And I appreciate you so much. And with me with us not being able to have these conversations because we're both teaching now, your schedule's not on the same page as mine. So you're going to see Matt a few times over the summer, so we can just kind of catch up. And, but I kind of want to jump topics real quick. You said you shared your testimony last night. Where'd you share it?
Long Hollow.
That's what I figured. And how many years?
8 years.
Did you hit it?
Yeah,
Did you
last
hit the
night.
anniversary? That's what I thought. I figured. So we got 8 years last night.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
8 years last night. That was our first night in.
Dang, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just,
That's
it's a
awesome.
blessing, to sit there and share where it started last night. My marriage was a mess.
Yeah.
We were divorcing. We were done. I was done emotionally, mentally. I had checked out. I was, trying to take my life. Literally 2 nights before, I was done. I was sick. Yeah. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was at my bottom. I know what Saul felt like on the road to Damascus.
Yeah. You were just broken.
And just.
And seeing, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the classroom. This is real. And when you've got somebody that's come out of the things you had to deal with as a child, and it's just, if you hear his testimony, you'll be like, oh my gosh, not even having the story about your dad and your name and all of that. And that blows my mind. That blows my mind. I'm going to have you share that.
My aliases.
Yeah, that just blows my mind. And to have that as a young child, as your identity, is it any surprise that as an adult, you had a hard time really trusting anybody? From marriages to whatever, and just that right there, to me, it's like, oh my gosh, if I had to endure that as a child, how would I handle that as an adult? And the things, and that's one thing that CR has taught me, are the things that happened with me as a kid, and a lot of my insecurities and stuff. A lot of the stuff stems from
Childhood.
terrible insecurities in my childhood, and so. You got to unpack that and get beyond that. I can't begin to tell you how much Celebrate Recovery has helped me. And here's the thing. Celebrate Recovery is not just about chemical and alcohol addiction. That's not my issue at all.
Not mine anymore either.
Yeah, not mine at all. But what I do have, I have a lot of spiritual, I have a lot of church issues. I had a lot of bitterness and resentment in my soul. And bitterness and resentment is poison. poison to your soul.
Depression, anxiety, the things that lead to it, codependency.
And just all of those things. But you got to unpack all that and see what's going on. So you're like, oh, life is beautiful and it's to be lived beautifully. But sometimes you have to unpack your stuff and leave that baggage on the side. That's what Jesus says, man, give it to me.
Yeah, so let me explain that story because you brought up this story.
Okay, I'm going to let you do that after I do my break. Okay? Because I don't want it, because it's already 10 till. You know what? Why don't you come back Monday? I don't have anybody Monday. Okay. You want to come back Monday? Sure. We're just gonna do because I need an hour with you. I haven't talked to you in a while, so we'll come back on. We'll have Matt come on Monday. I don't think I have a guest Monday. Let me double check. But right now, do your ad. Let me do my ad. Yeah, do your ad. I'm getting all scattered. But we need to talk. Well, we got to talk about Veterans Motorplex. Have you been to the races? Have you been to the races? You need to go.
No, not for a while. Not for a while.
I'm going to take you to the races this summer because it is a blast. I have so much fun when I go out to the races. This is the old Highland Rim Speedway, guys. If you want to follow what's going on at the races here in Robertson County, you got to follow Highland Rim Speedway. They kept that Facebook presence. And, Jerry brought us up in Greenbrier, brought us a bunch of tickets on the last day of school and said, hey, come on and bring your family. Gave us a family pass for the teachers to come out. And what a family pass does, if you don't have a pass to get in, you can buy one for $40 and you can bring up to 6 kids and 2 adults for the price of $40. It is so much fun. And it is just right here in the heart of Greenbrier in Robertson County, 6801 Kelly Willis Road. This is a fast 1/4-mile high banked asphalt bull ring, fun for the whole family. And it is a blast watching those cars hit that track. And you have some teenage races sometimes. They'll do, between races, sometimes they'll do the big wheel races for the little ones. It's just a fun family atmosphere. And if you're somebody that don't want to be around alcohol, they don't sell it, they don't allow it, and that's unusual for a racetrack. So it is truly a family place to come and have some fun. Jerry's saying, come on out, racing every Saturday night in the summer. So just come on out and be a part of it, and that's weather permitting. You need to follow them at Highland Rim Speedway to make sure the races are happening, because sometimes the weather can push it off, delay it, reschedule it, those kinds of things. But follow them at Highland Rim Speedway, Veterans Motorplex. Get out there. We race through October here in Robertson County and sometimes beyond. But when you get out there, let me know you sent you. Okay, Matt, go ahead and tell that story. I kind of unpacked it. Just that's one of the main things that really intrigued me about you. I was like, I can't imagine having this as your foundation.
So this is, we all have God has a name for all of us, right? Matthew was Levi, Paul was Saul, so on and so forth. When I was born Gary Lewis Driscoll Jr. Mom and dad were a teenage couple. Obviously, didn't work out. Dad stepped away. Mom remarried when I was about 3.5, almost 4. My sister Megan was born when I was 5. So when they baptized her, John Chevenel legally adopted me. And when they baptized her, they rebaptized me, changed my name to Matthew Thomas Chevenel.
But you were born Gary Driscoll.
Gary Lewis Driscoll Jr. So I guess he didn't want to be calling me Junior. Yeah, new daddy didn't want to call me Junior.
Okay.
Probably along them lines. That marriage did not last long, lasted 3 years. So a couple years later after the name change.
But you were traveling
during this period, they got married. He was an ROTC candidate when they met in New Hampshire. She got pregnant. They got married. We moved to Georgia so we can go to jump school. And after jump school, we moved to Germany. So this is about the whole 3 years of their marriage. We were away from family. So that was about 3 or 4 when we left. We come back. I'm in second grade. Is almost wrapping up second grade. So what's that? About 7. Pushing 8. It was right around my birthday time, if I recollection. I would come back and remember people hadn't seen me for years now. It's been 3-4 years since they've seen me. And they're like, hey, Gary. And I'm looking around like, who are you talking to?
You talking to?
Little kid. Yeah, that took a little, it was wild.
Yeah.
That marriage ended. He wound up being kind of a deadbeat or whatever. My mom kind of pushed him out of our life. She could be a difficult person, and she made it basically impossible for him to see us, and he just kind of eventually gave up. He was never really filled that dad role for me.
Yeah.
So I kept the name Chevenel all the way through high school. Coming out of high school, joined the military, and go to marry my ex-wife. And her father was the only son, and he had 3 daughters, so the name was going to die. So I'm like, you know what? My name meant nothing to me, so I took on their last name. So I took the maiden name. So I changed my name to Matthew Thomas. So if Gary Lewis Driscoll Jr., Matthew Thomas Chevenel, then I changed it to Matthew Thomas Brazier. Marriage lasted 17 years. Had 2 girls, so we carried on at least a little bit for a little while. Maybe they'll get lucky and find a dude that'll change their name. So when I divorced my ex-wife and go to marry my current wife, I figured she really wouldn't want my ex-wife's last name. That'd be really weird, right? So
This is just wild.
So I changed my name back to my born-given last name, Driscoll.
Wow.
You can
You think you might have some identity issues? Oh my gosh.
Hey, $20 and a piece of paper at a courthouse, man, you can be whoever you want to be. That's all it takes.
That is wild.
That's all it takes.
I just can't even imagine that. And again, that's just kind of like a quick little snippet of some of the things that is in your background. And there's some real hard things in your background.
But that's also part of the reason why when it comes to certain things like that we deal with as teachers and kids, obviously my faith is very, important to me. I'm not going to, if you're a boy, you're a boy. If you're a girl, you're a girl. But as far as whatever you want me to call you, I don't care.
Yeah.
You want me to call you?
Love you.
You want me to call you Fido? I'll call you Fido. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because the name is just a name, and I'm kind of a testament to that.
Yeah. And you're just trying to love these kids through whatever they're going through and whatever they're trying to figure out.
Yeah. But I'm not going to change my view as far as boy, girl, girl. I'm ma'am or sir, based off your gender. But as far as I'll call you whatever name you want to call me. That's a hill I'm not going to die on because it really ultimately doesn't matter. God has a name for you regardless.
Yeah.
And, he's already got your name written down. So,
well, and the fun, the just the year that you were at Greenbrier, the kids still ask, because they know we're friends, and they still ask about you because you made such an impression on the ones that you connected with.
I do. I miss them.
And that's the thing. You have kids that you connect with in such a way. And I think a lot of the ones that will ask me about them, you just kind of know there was a connection there because they got stuff going on. So many.
It's been amazing. I've had
much stuff.
So when I was at Greenbrier, I was teaching government, and so it's got a lot, mostly seniors.
Yeah.
I've actually had now a year later, I've had some kids call me up for counseling.
Oh wow.
They know now they're graduating, they know about the past. Again, it's just better being transparent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's where where I say for me this is a calling, is that with my past and everything like that, I just try to be transparent because it's more than just teaching them a topic for me. It's a matter of making good citizens, and I don't want to see these kids on a freaking police blotter.
No.
I had a student a year ago when I had my office in Greenbrier, came to me and struggled. He'd been in and out of Robertson County Hotel, the jail, and been struggling with drug addiction. And he's trying to get his life on track. Sean Elmore had referred him to me. He's trying to get his life on track. He was doing all the work with Sean, and he really wanted to get right. And he was trying to certify HVAC, and he was having trouble with it because he couldn't read.
Oh, wow.
He says, I got like a 3rd, 4th grade reading level, and I was trying to work with him, trying to help him out. I was like, well, did you graduate high school? He said, yeah, I did. He said, where'd you graduate? He said, right over here at Greenbrier. And just... that broke my heart. It's like, golly, see, here's the problem. It shouldn't be about numbers. It's supposed to be about making the connections with the kids, making it to where they're not going out. We don't have to worry about them. There's nothing worse. I've actually heard teachers say, "Well, I knew that kid was going to turn out that way." I've heard teachers say that.
That hurts my heart.
And to me, that's just a shame. And I know I'm sure there are times that I'm like, man, if this child don't change, they're going to have a rough future. I've done that. I'd be lying if I haven't.
Yeah.
And I've done that too. But at the same time, it's like, man, I may think, man, if they don't do it, they're going down the wrong road. But at least I'm going to pray for them.
You better believe it.
At least I'm going to say, I hope at some point God pulls their head out of their butt for them when they wind up dead, or pregnant, or in jail, or just I've had a couple students. There were a couple from last year. It's like, well, I don't know about this child, and I got a couple of them now. They've joined the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
So they realized, and one of them called me up saying thank you.
Yeah.
He never would have thought about getting to public service and doing what he's doing now. He thanks the government class for that. So
that's awesome.
That was pretty cool.
That's the thing. If you think there's any inkling that you might want to teach, reach out to one of us and we'll talk to you about it. I get to be a career teacher. Now you're a career teacher right now.
Yeah, doing the business.
So, yeah, but you could do other things. But and so we get to kind of, what you were talking about early on about how we teach and what we teach. We get to we get to determine that. And so that's one thing that I really love about being a career teacher is I can direct it. There's so many things I want to talk to you about.
Regardless of the topic, it should just be a matter of teaching these kids life lessons, getting them ready for the next level, because they're the ones that are going to be wiping our butts in retirement homes.
And I keep telling Matt, you don't have to be so blunt. He's like my husband. He's a Yankee, and they just they're a little more blunt than us Southerners. Did you see that Mark got they gave him the rock star rookie? He's so organized. Oh, and that is so important in a teaching environment to be organized, and that has helped him tremendously. I am not, and I'm working on it. But we're out of time, so let me check the schedule, and if Monday's open, let's just reset and let's do this. But let's do the big invite for Epiphany tonight for Celebrate Recovery. Tell them what to expect.
Tonight, lesson. We do have dinner, free dinner at 5:45. We do have childcare available, so if you got a kiddo, by all means, bring the kids. Night's lesson, and we break up an open share time. The open share time is great if you just need a place to go and just kind of vent and get some things off your chest. That's a great time right there. That starts at 6:30, but again, we do have dinner at 5:30, 5:45-ish. I'm not sure what's on the menu tonight, but it is free. You just got to bring in you and an appetite, and we'll take care of you. Yeah. We're located at 211 First Avenue in Springfield. And again, that's 211 First Avenue in Springfield.
And, you talk about open share, and I don't get to participate in open share here in Epiphany, but we do the one because I help with the one at Madison on Wednesday night. And the camaraderie of the group that we get together in open share, it's just amazing the friendships you build. Yep. And I have several friendships here at Epiphany that I've built through that, but I just encourage you, come and be a part of it and just
come check it out.
Forever family. That's what we call it. It's a forever family. And the only way to build it is to be a part of it and to, nurture those relationships. So, it's a wonderful thing. And it's not, people go, oh, I'm not in recovery. If you've got chemical or alcohol dependencies and you want to break free of that, break that chain, absolutely come. But if you've got issues with food, if you've got depression, if you are, dealing with gambling, suicidal thoughts, you spend too much money,
food, diet,
all the things. If you're like me, carrying a lot of, I talk a lot about women's issues, and that's a big issue for me. And I have a lot of bitterness because of the church and the way we approach how we present women in the church. And so I have to deal with that because it's poison to your soul. So, if those are the kinds of things that you're dealing with, Celebrate Recovery is for every one of us because we're all dealing with some hurts and bad habits and things that just got us hung up. Right.
Yep.
All right, man. Tell them what time we start at 5:45.
5:45 dinner. Service starts at 6:30.
Yep.
211 First Ave. Come join us.
Be a part of it, and we appreciate y'all. And Monday, let's do it again. All right. Matt Driscoll will be back, and you'll see him some this summer as we just kind of reconnect while we're off for school. And again, I have a class in Murfreesboro for the next 3 days that I have to go so I can continue to teach the children, part of my educational preparedness program. So I hate that I can't be with y'all, but Lee Marie will take the helm and do a wonderful job. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Probably just do it right here. God bless. Have a